Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophets Speak. Today we are studying Hosea 7, that is Hosea chapter 7, Perek Zion, and I am Saul Weinreb, the host of your podcast. In chapter 6, we just finished with the idea that God was criticizing the people for turning to other places for salvation, rather than turning to God himself. God has said, I'm the one that's punishing you. I'm the one that has the power and the ability to save you. I'm therefore the one that can and will heal you. Just turn back to me. And also the idea that the corruption that had taken place in the northern kingdom had spread to the southern kingdom, and they were both in that in the same boat, so to speak. While God himself says, I've been trying to bring you back. So let's start with verse 1 in chapter 7. Kiraf'i li Israel, when this is God speaking through the prophet, when I reach out to heal Israel. And Israel specifically is referring to the northern kingdom. V'nigla avot, what type of healing would happen if I turn to Israel and try to heal them? It's going to be a painful one, God says. V'nigla avon Ephraim v'ra'os Shomron, the sins of Ephraim and the evil deeds of Shomron. Ephraim being the primary nation in the northern kingdom, and Shomron being the capital of the northern kingdom. Such a healing will be a healing that requires a reckoning. It will require a true repentance. And repentance, as we know, the first step, both on an individual and a community level, is recognizing and acknowledging the sin. Without that, no repentance can be had. So over here too, God is saying, when I heal Israel, the sins will be revealed. They will be out in the open, which makes it a painful and difficult process, which is why so many people want to avoid it. Why? What will be revealed? Ki fa'alu shaker, because they have done falsehood. They have been liars. That is how they have been dealing. V'ganov yavo, and they have snuck in as thieves, poshat gedud bachutz, with bands of thieves and robbers raiding outside. Ubal yomru lilvavam kol ra'asam zacharti, and they do not think in their hearts that all of their evil ways are things that I have known, things that I have done. Now, their evil ways, the things that they have done, have now surrounded them. Neged ponayayu, because these were neged ponai. I was watching them. I saw them. I known about them, and the people did not put that to heart, which is A, partly why they sinned, and B, why they want to avoid repentance, why they want to avoid coming back to me, because they know that coming back to me will require a painful reckoning. Instead, what did they choose? They choose the path of lying, the path of cheating. Now remember that we mentioned before how the leaders were corrupt and leading the people in the wrong direction. But even the leaders themselves were corrupted by the people. So that we mentioned even the prophets themselves were those whom we said, B'chashal gam novi im chalayla, we said in chapter 4, verse 5, that the prophets themselves were corrupted by the people. The people, both because of their lies and pretending that they were doing well, and because of the people's arrogance, they refused to listen, so that no one was giving rebuke, no one was teaching, no one was leading. Over here it's saying in the next verse, Asam, in their evil yisamchu melach, they made their king happy. The king, who himself may not have been a righteous person in most of the cases in the northern kingdom, but the king themselves, they pretended that everything was good, that they were doing well, and they made their king happy. Uvechachashehem, and through their lies, sorim, they made the officers and the chiefs happy. They made pretend that they were doing well. Verse 4, kulam minoafim, they are all adulterers. Now this could mean, of course, adultery for real, and probably does. That because as we know several times, Hosea has criticized, but this means adulterers' unfaithfulness. It means that they were liars. That means that they were covering up their sins. in the manner of adulterers. Kimo tanor, and here he makes a comparison to a metaphor of like an oven. And an oven in those days would take a long time to burn and stoke the flames to bring it up to the proper level of heat. It takes hours and hours, sometimes days, to fire up the oven in order to bring the heat to the right level so that baking can properly take place in the oven. Kimotanur, they're like an oven bo'ara me'ofeh, which is bo'era me'ofeh, which is being fired up by the baker who's in charge of the oven. Yishbos me'ir. When does he stop baking? In other words, he prepares and he prepares and he fires it and fires it and fires it. But for those moments, milush botzek ad chumtzatzo, from the time of the kneading of the dough until it rises, he steps aside and allows the oven to be used for baking. Because, in other words, when people are there, when people are around, he steps aside. So he prepares the flames, and we're saying this a similar kind of idea here, where the people in secret and private, when no one else is around, they're constantly doing evil, doing their evil ways, stealing, robbing, cheating, lying, adultery, and so on. But then, when it comes time, when people are there, when the king is around, that's when suddenly they step aside and just let their work, let their lives work and bake. Yom Malkeinu, on the day of our king. Now, the day of our king here is generally understood to mean on a holiday, on the big holiday, when everyone gets in front of the king, whether they're celebrating his coronation or his birthday or something like that. On the day of our king, Hechelu Sorim Chamas Miyoyin, the officers have become sick with drunkenness and wine, with jugs of wine, or with the poisonous effects of wine. Mashach Yado et Lotzitzim, the king has now lent his hand, given his hand to the jokers. The jokers are whom? The Lotzitzim, the Lotzeitz, are the people who pretend to be something that they're not. This whole party has become a party of people pretending in front of the king that they're someone that they're not. Ki kervu kitanor libam be'arbam, verse 6. Because they approach the king, they approach the officers like this, like the metaphor of the oven. In their hearts, they are coming ambushing, like they're sneaking up. They have something to hide in the background. It's only now during this time when people are around that they're acting good. But in the background, there's all of this corruption. Kol halayla, all of the night, when people are not around, yoshein ofihem, their baker is asleep. However, and as the Radak explains, during the night is when the flames are being stoked, is when the baker is asleep, because he put all of the wood out there. All of his things are burning. The fire is burning. Hu bo'er ke'esh la'boker, in the morning. Hu bo'er ke'esh la'ba. By the time the morning comes, the fire has burst out, and now it's in flames. Kulam yechamu katanor. All of those people, the people are getting heated up during the night like the oven. And then when it comes time, v'achlu es shoftehem, they eat up their judges. Those people who are supposed to be their judges, who are supposed to be a good influence, who are supposed to be their leaders, the people are now eating up their leaders. Kol malchehem, all of their kings, the kings who have been led astray, the kings who have been lied to, have fallen. Afolu, they have fallen. Ein korei bohem elai, none of them, not the kings, not the judges, and not the people themselves. No one are calling out to me, God says. No one is looking to me. Everyone is full of lies. Everyone is full of deceit. It's all one big lie, one big made-up story. Ephraim bo'amim hu yispolol. Ephraim, the nation, now is getting mixed up among all the other nations. What makes them unique, what makes them special, their God, they have lost it. They're looking everywhere else except for to God. Ephraim hayo ugabeli hafucha. Continuing the metaphor of the baking. At least when you bake, you can come out with a nice product. You can come out with a cookie, a cake, a loaf of bread. But in this case, Ephraim had the product that is coming from this oven. The product is a cake that people forgot to turn over, so it gets burnt on the bottom and raw on the top. It's useless. It's nothing. Achlu zarim kocho. Foreigners, strangers have eaten its strength. We know this because it became dependent upon Assyria, upon the other nations for strength, not on itself. He doesn't even know it. He doesn't even understand that instead of looking for his own source of strength, he looked for strength everywhere else, so that now his strength belongs to others. Gam sevaz arkabo, even exhaustion, the tiredness of old age has been thrown into Ephraim. The exhaustion that happens to an empire and it's teetering on its last days. V'hu lo yadan, he doesn't even notice, he doesn't even know it. V'ana go'on Yisrael b'fanav. What is it that he looks to, and what answers him when he looks and sees that he's having problems? His pride. He looks at his arrogance. And his arrogance says something else. His arrogance says, don't turn to God. Don't turn to your strength, the one who can actually hear you, but keep on going down the bad path that you're on. V'lo shavu el Adonai Elohim. And therefore they did not return to God. V'lo vikshu v'chol, among all of this decay, they did not search God out. Vayhi Ephraim ki yona fosa ein lev. Ephraim then became like a foolish dove. A dove usually knows how to fly back to its coop. This dove is completely lost. Ein lev, the people have no heart. They don't even know how to come home anymore. Karo, Ashur, Le'ale, Mitzrayim, Karo, they called out to all other places. They called out to Egypt for help. Ashur halachu, they went to Assyria for help. Kasher yelechu, God says in verse 12. When they do go to these places, what am I going to do? I'm not going to let them get actual help from there. Efros aleim rishti, I'm going to cast my net in order to bring the dove back, the dove that forgot how to fly home by itself. Ka'of hashamayim oridem, I'll bring them down like the birds of the heaven. Aisirem kishama le'adasam, I will punish them kishema le'adasam. When I hear their meetings and their visits with these kings, their discussions, their capitulations to all of these other empires, when I hear them, I am going, rather than allowing those plans to work, I'm going to bring them back. I'm going to trap them and bring them back. Oy lohem, woe is to them, kina de dumi many, that they have turned away from me. Shod lahem, there will be destruction upon them, kifashu be, because they have rebelled against me. The anochi evdeim, and I have been their redeemer. I have been the one all along that they could have turned to. Instead, vehema dibru like kizavim, they have spoken about me like people that are defiled, people that are going away from me, people that are plotting against me. V'lozoaku elai b'libam, and they did not, even in their hearts, they did not cry to me, they did not pray to me. Ki yiyelilu al mishkavosam, when they were lying on their beds crying about their problems, they didn't cry to me. Al dogon v'tiroshis gororu yasurubi. They instead ate all their new grains and wines, and they removed me. They instead looked to all of these worldly pleasures and other empires rather than come to me. Va'ani sarti chizakti zrosam ve'elayach shavura. And I went ahead, I gave them rebuke in order to teach them the proper way. I gave them the strength and ability to come back to me. And instead of coming to me, God says, they started plotting against me and making plans to make a more corrupt nation. Yashuvu, lo all. When they returned, lo all, they did not return to the one who is all, the one who is on top, but rather they went ahead and returned to the corrupt other nations and to other gods. Hayuki keshes remia, they were like a bow that's twisted, a bow that instead of shooting in the right direction, they shot in the wrong direction. Yiplu v'cherev soreim. Therefore, their leaders will die by the sword. Mizam l'shonam, because of the messy words that come out of their tongues. These people that completely corrupted their leaders will end up dying in war. Zu lagom bi'eretz Mitzrayim. This is how in Egypt they'll be making fun of them. They're going to go to Egypt looking for help, and instead of getting help, Egypt is going to make fun. This was a very depressing chapter, but if we hang on in the words of Hosea, there will be more encouraging words as time comes. Thank you so much for studying chapter 7 with me. Looking forward to studying chapter 8.